Now it's time for the Asset of the Week, and this week we interview Anthem Blanchard, CEO of AnthemVault.com and operator of the counterparty asset HayekGold. Today I'm joined with CEO Anthem Blanchard from Anthem Vault and HayekGold. How are you doing today, Anthem?
I'm doing great, Robert. Thank you very much for having me on your show. It's a pleasure to be on.
Oh, thank you very much for joining me. I'm really excited about the use for digital assets to be applied to gold, and that's basically what you're doing here with Anthem Vault. Can you tell us kind of the problems you're solving and a little bit about your counterparty token?
Yeah, absolutely. So with HayekGold, aka the Hayek, we are making gold accessible universally to the world, and we're making it also easily spendable. So the actual counterparty asset itself, the ticker, so to speak, is XHYK. So X being a universally known currency symbol, and then HYK representing the consonants of in Hayek. So, and just getting into Hayek briefly, Hayek was named after Frederick August Hayek, who was a Nobel economist winner who wrote pieces including Road to Serfdom, and then also more applicably, I would say specifically in our case, denationalization of money and choice in currency. So we have named the Hayek in honor of Frederick August Hayek, who I also am lucky enough to have my parents have also make my middle name because they also like Frederick August Hayek a lot as well.
That's pretty cool. So Frederick Hayek, he's a big-time investor. I'm not familiar with who he is.
No, he was actually an economist. He was an Austrian School of Economics economist. So he basically, like, if you've ever heard the expression, the road to hell is paved with good intentions, that Hayek was kind of known for really emphasizing that, but in economic theory. And so and later in his life, in his economic career, that Hayek actually started advocating for a denationalization of money and choice in currency were two pamphlets that he wrote, and really spent a lot of time the last, I would say, 15 years especially of his life, really advocating for governments to lose the monopoly or oligopoly in currency creation, fiat currency, and for there to be alternatives to really have their usher in a new enlightened age in banking, and ultimately, then an enlightened golden age in society. And so we're really excited. It's just wonderful to be able to know that now billions of people, I think about close to 9 billion people in the world, will be able to actually hold Hayek as long as they can have internet connection. So it's just bringing the power of Bitcoin and the beauty of crypto into gold, and with the same stringent levels of transparency and immutability that's located in the Bitcoin blockchain. So yeah, we're really, really excited about it.
Well, that is a powerful tool to have because, before Bitcoin, me, like many other people, we would always advocate for, a currency that's actually backed in gold. And, obviously when Bitcoin crypto came out, a lot of that philosophy has changed with many individuals to where we no longer really need a currency that's backed by gold, but, we have these cryptocurrencies that are backed by their features in the ledger. However, what you're doing kind of joins the two philosophies together because you're actually attaching a cryptocurrency to a specific amount of gold. And so this is really cool because this really helps with the volatility of your particular asset because it won't go up and down as much, and it's literally pegged to gold. Do I have that correct? And how much gold does one Hayek stand for?
Yeah, you have that exactly correct, Robert. One Hayek is equal to 1 gram of gold in an Anthem Vault account. So, and that gram of gold is 100% fine, pure, physical gold that's in a kilo bar, that's in an LBMA hallmark kilo bar, which is literally the gold standard of gold. And so it's all of the top refineries in the world that are LBMA standard refiners, and there's all sorts of quality assurance standards that the refiners have to adhere to. And LBMA is over 100-year-old association. So it's only the best gold if someone can bail out a kilo worth out of the system. A kilo worth is about $37,000 roughly, $38,000 at today's dollars worth in today's price. So, there is a complete, transparency throughout the whole process. So that's actually something that we're really advocating, and I think something that's been really lacking for many years. And obviously we know the financial system in general, and the ability to have the inability, I should say, to edit blockchain and the accounting and the database, I think is perhaps the most powerful aspect of Bitcoin blockchain in general. And so to be able to harness that power, but really just to kind of have a continuation, have that really be a starting point, and then have a continuation of transparency from that point is really what we're excited about. And I think, with the blockchain in and of itself, we've already identified dozens of different applications that we can apply. We've already arguably done really cool things with Counterparty that we haven't yet seen other people do. Maybe they're out there, but like the way that we treat the password when the counter wallet actually gets created from an Anthem Vault account, when the user initiates that action, we have a really nifty way for it to be able to have someone save the long string of words as the passphrase, and for that client, because our goal is really to make gold and really make it as accessible as possible. And so the way that we need to do that is also by communicating and really effectively getting people to understand that this is just like a mechanism that they're using to pay. And if they don't really need to understand very much more than that, we kind of get to understand like Bitcoin is kind of like the gasoline that goes into the vehicle that is the Hayek. So it's kind of like you can have a Hayek right in your wallet, and as a counterparty asset, but it's not going to go anywhere without Bitcoin. So that's kind of how we think of it. So we're trying to really make it accessible and easy to understand as everyone. I think actually Cynthia, our co-founder / wife / board member / chief of staff, puts it, I think, best when she says that Bitcoin and gold have been dating for a while, and now with the Hayek and with Anthem Vault, they're getting married, and now with the Hayek and the launch of the Hayek, it's kind of like their children. So that's kind of going from this evolution, and I think it's really natural. It's a renaissance, basically, where you have the world's most trusted store of value of gold, all the way up to present. It's the only physical asset that all central banks hold as a reserve asset, and so it's always been treated as value really since the beginning of antiquity. So I think we're just coupling that with the most innovative method of exchange, and and record now with Bitcoin blockchain and the innovation of crypto, and that's it's perfect, and it's just really, really exciting. We're excited. We want to be the best practices players. There's just like with every innovative industry, there comes with it a ton of excitement, and also with it a lot of fraud and a lot of con artists, and anyone that's been around emerging technology knows that quite well, and it just comes with the territory. So we're really out there to maximize transparency, to really be best in breed, bring the best practices in, only work with the best, and keep working with the best that we can. So I think that's what's going to help our cause the most in terms of legitimizing cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, Counterparty, and just this whole idea of decentralization that we all know is so needed, and mesh networks, and getting away from these hierarchical centralized structures that have contagion risk and systemic risk because of their susceptibility in their structure. So I know that to your listeners, this is something that's second nature, and so, but what we need to do now is to try to get the greater population really adopting. And I think a lot of it is just really focusing on what it does instead of kind of how it works, which is difficult for a lot of us because we're also excited about kind of the coolness of how it works. But I think we tend sometimes, we being enthusiasts, of crypto and Bitcoin and just crypto in general, sometimes it's like anything, right? Where you start talking about like how it works instead of what it does. So that's something that I'm constantly trying to work on. I'm constantly trying to get better with personally. So I just think that it's important for all of us to remember that, because I think sometimes people get frustrated when people are like, oh, they'll kind of poo-poo Bitcoin. But I found 90+% of the time, at least for me, it's 90+% of the time that people just don't understand it really. So that's more of it than anything.
That is a struggle that I've myself run into, and I'm sure a lot of people share that same situation as you. We could talk all day on how we could approach it better, and I think that you have it right. Showing people what you can do with this technology can be a lot of the times better than just telling them how it works. Which actually brings me to another question, since I've learned a little bit more about what you're doing over there. One of the really cool things about this HayekGold is it's not like it's one of those questions we get in the mainstream, like, folks, where they ask, oh, so what gives Bitcoin its value? You actually have something that you can say gives this Hayek value. It's backed by gold. So that actually introduces unique opportunities for, POS systems, like at restaurants, to actually accept gold as a form of currency. Now, that does lead me into a couple other questions, though. And I'll start with this one. Yes, Counterparty is decentralized, and yes, Bitcoin is decentralized. But application like yours, and actually I run Folding Coin, and Folding Coin has the same issue, is there is centralization to it. And what I mean by this is with Folding Coin, me and the developers at Folding Coin, we hold all of the undistributed Folding Coin, which means that we could just at any time take a runner, take the money and run. We're not going to do that, but the opportunity does exist. And so I see that you might have same kind of similar situation over there at HayekGold, because you are the central point of authority that is controlling these gold bars. So how do you protect that? How do you keep your transparency alive? How can I trust that my Hayek token will ultimately be backed by 1 gram of gold?
No, I mean, it's a great question. And I mean, it's like I look to situations like a Bernie Madoff, right, where he was head of the NASD and the NASDAQ at one point, and right. All of these huge financial organizations, and of course we all know he got caught with creating and the biggest Ponzi scheme ever recorded. At least that's not private. At least let's leave it at that. But private Ponzi scheme,
right? But hey, those exist. Those exist.
Yeah, absolutely, they do. So biggest private Ponzi scheme ever, and even though it had all of these, the highest of high accreditations of all sorts, right? So it doesn't, you can say, okay, but looking at simple things there, like his auditor was not AICPA PCAOB member. Like, that's a very simple thing, like, especially for a guy that was the head of the NASD. So, I mean, that's one big key. So, for example, with Anthem Vault, we are audited by a PCAOB AICPA member company. So Anton Chia is our auditor and has been for the last 2 years. And they, outside of the big five, I think they actually just announced that they have more publicly traded companies that they're their auditor for than any other than the big four now. Excuse me. So it's. It's that simple part of it. I mean, we have, myself and another board member. Another board member is still on a big $1 billion plus publicly traded board company. I have been on a publicly traded company. I've been on the audit committee. I mean, again, that doesn't mean anything either, because there's plenty of people that have done those things too. But it's then taking it to the next level where we have Brinks, the vault operator, which is like the best. I mean, that's where the Federal Reserve basically holds theirs, and major banks hold their cash. I mean, it's the biggest and best. Everyone knows Brinks has been around for 150 years. I mean, everyone knows that all the best people go to them for their coin and cash. Like, you see their trucks around everywhere, going to all the biggest stores, to pick up all the Fortune 200 stores to pick up their coin and cash. So, I mean, they're the biggest players. And so I say, because we're in the U.S., it's a major advantage, because we're not in some jurisdiction where you have to worry about, in the U.S., if you steal from people, you can go to jail. Not in all jurisdictions is that the case. So I think that that's one big key, that we are in the U.S. I think that is a big advantage. But there's actually even a bigger whole nother point. So, I mean, we're going to continue. So to finish off that point, we're going to continue to maximize transparency. So we have, Brinks and all vault operators push and test the metal in the content in the bar to actually see, just to confirm, even though we're only getting our bars from commercial dealers, to make sure that the metal is pure. And that's just not even scraping the tip of the iceberg in terms of the technology that's coming down. There's so much that can be done in this industry that we know that, we are planning for, but, it just takes resources and time. And first things first, we just want to continue to push the innovation bubble, and always for transparency. So, that's I would say one aspect, but the even bigger aspect is that we have a vision for really the crypto gold space, even bigger than Hayek, in the sense of being able to have more of a collaborative effort, where other than just Anthem Vault, that we have other custodians in different jurisdictions, and that way we're able to lessen the jurisdiction risk ultimately, and also the execution risk of the operator risk, like you identify. So, if we're a bad operator, then we could run away with everyone's money. But again, I know that there's already a lot of technological innovation, so it's just really a matter of us working with the vault operators. I mean, and it's a methodical process, but really we want to help better their industry and make their services even better. And so it's just a matter of getting to that point, and it's a very virtuous circle, right? So when you're building a company, it's kind of like these series of S curves is the way I think of it. And so it's just getting to that point and just continuing to push the envelope for greater and greater transparency. I think that's, and you have to just, if you can ask some of the basic questions, like who are the operators, what's their track record, are they, audited by some, AICPA, PCAOB member company. We have the bar list right on the front of our website. Anyone that actually signs up for a free account can actually see our inventory list. That's one of the requirements of Brinks. They don't let us actually publish that on the front end of the website. You have to actually be a client. So it's this funny thing. And you see it in the collapse in confidence of all of these traditional financial institutions that have been plagued and, again and again by scandals or, some kind of unknown accounting issue or financial issue that only, became uncovered after it blew up because it triggered off some sort of, credit risk ultimately, I guess, or counterparty risk, I guess you could say more appropriately. So, that's what we're really trying we're trying to minimize that opaqueness and that lack of clarity. We're trying to maximize clarity and visibility and transparency, hence the reason why, and robustness as well. I mean, to have the military grade level security of the mesh network that, exists with Bitcoin is key. And so, we're really all about development and innovation. So for us, I think Hayek, you're seeing version 1 here, and also, Hayek being the first crypto asset and, crypto development, other than the prototype that we put out with Independence Coin. So it's really the second, but I consider the first really was purely promotional prototype. So with INN Coin. So, Hayek is really our first, full dev, full version, live, real, product to put out there from a, crypto asset or just crypto in general. So.
Oh yeah. Well, it sounds like you definitely, you guys over there are doing your best and your due diligence on making it as transparent as possible, and it actually seems like you're coming a good amount of the way doing so. I'm not on the complete side that thinks everything can be decentralized at this point. We have to trust somebody to hold the gold if we're going to have a digital gold asset. Because, I hold some gold physically, but I would love to have some gold in my counter wallet. That'd be great. And so, in trusting a company like you, I see a need for that in order to actually accomplish this goal that you're trying to do. So I don't think the centralization is bad as long as you are being transparent and you have it secure and everything's available, which that's what it looks like you guys are doing. Now, I do have a question. How does one get HayekGold? Can I buy it on the DEX? Like, you were saying something how on your website you actually create counter wallets for people. Can you tell me a little bit about the buying process?
So, great questions. As of this very moment in time, Hayeks are only purchasable through Anthem Vault, and only after you've already purchased fractional gold with Anthem Vault. So we actually, it's a little bit, again, getting into the technicalities of things, but basically the principle is that we want someone, we are a precious metal dealer, so first and foremost, that is what we are, who we are, and most importantly in this case, how we're regulated as well. And so we have anti-money laundering policies. We are regulated under the Patriot Act as another financial institution, and that's very key. And so, that's our first and foremost, kind of our center and our core. So, from that core of the gold that someone owns legally 100% is theirs, it's their asset. Its fractional ownership is the legal concept. The same as if you and I bought a piece of real estate 50-50, just like piece of land, for example, just as an investment. So same legal concept. We would jointly own that real estate as an asset to us, property. So in this case, instead of it being real estate property, it's physical gold as your legal property. So, and someone can take that gold then and then decide to quote unquote take it and exchange it basically, or sell it basically and buy it into Hayek. So from the client standpoint, it looks like they're basically just transferring in essence the gold in their Anthem Vault account into Hayek's. But in effect, what's kind of going on is an automated process of selling and then buying. And so, and some of that's just the nuance and how to treat things and make sure that we're not dealing with barter and things like that. So some of that's just like kind of nuance, but I'd figure since you're a little bit more of a technical show than most, I figured some of your listeners might appreciate that. So right now, that's the only way someone can get to Hayek's. And so at that point, basically what we're doing, it's $5 a wallet, basically. And so someone can create up to 10 wallets right now in their Anthem Vault account. And so once we do that, basically we're putting about $2.50 roughly worth of BTC in someone's wallet. So, each Hayek transaction is roughly about 15,000 Satoshi right now. So about 3.5 cents roughly, or so, a transaction. So it's just kind of like a starter kit. Someone could go out and, load up that counter wallet, with more BTC. Right now, again, we just launched in May 25th. We're live, but we're technically in soft launch. So we put a pretty low limit to the number of Hayeks initially that someone can approve per day at about 5 right now. So it's one of those things where it's about $200 roughly worth of value. So we anticipate we're talking with several different exchanges of crypto exchanges, and we anticipate that at the end of the day, probably less than 5% of people that hold Hayeks will even have an Anthem Vault account, because basically they don't need to have one. And there's going to be a lot of jurisdictions in the world, like in places, let's say in like Africa or developing countries elsewhere around the world, especially places that are used to using mobile and have kind of leapfrog technology, like places in Central Africa, especially, that we think that it's going to be really exciting for them to be able to hold Hayeks and be able to go to their local, stores, exchangers, places that they're used to buying phone credits, let's say, or similar type credits and payment vehicles, that we're really underbanked for whatever reasons, inability to access, cost prohibitive. So to really help, and ultimately the neat thing is that they're going to have that same 24/7 accessibility that's afforded to them by Bitcoin, of not having any bank holidays or worrying about payments getting suspended. So because of just clearing timing. And so I mean, arguably you can have people that are in the middle of basically like no urbanization at all, that like except for like cell tower basically, and be able to have a transactable unit, a payable unit, and receiving payment units that are arguably even more valuable than the ones that are traditionally circulating right now. So it's this unbelievable revolution that's really vital. I mean, I think that anyone that really, even somewhat like myself, I would say, understands the financial system, and there are certainly many more people that understand it better than I do, but I think that's basically how obvious it's become to that. It's at the end of the day, hopefully the existing system lasts decades longer, and it very well could, and I hope that's the case. because we need to start implementing, different redundant systems for the most crucial ways that we transact, like yesterday. So, because in every other instance in business, and we have multiple forms of redundancy for other core, aspects like internet, for example, or power, for example. So you go to like financial institutions, and especially in places like New York, especially after 9/11, where they have their offices in New Jersey, and they have complete redundancy. Except there's only two ways to realistically pay right now, and that's cash and bank payments. And the issue with that Bitcoin has really mostly more than all right now is a liquidity issue. Bitcoin only trades about $40 to $50 million on average US dollars a day through the network.
And that's a drop in the bucket compared to some of these other, either currencies or stocks that are being traded on a daily basis, or even gold for that matter, correct?
Yeah, gold's at about 90 billion, 90 to 100 billion a
per day
on average.
Oh wow, I did not know it was that high.
Yeah, per day. Now that includes now spot gold, derivatives, including futures, options, and also ETF activity. So, but that's also part of the point too, right? And so because there's fully formed derivatives and futures markets, and that's key for any treasurer, CFO type person, because they need that in order to hedge off of whatever their base unit of account is of their company, right? So gold, someone can already price hedge under 1%, so that price exchange rate risk is under 1% with gold. While in Forex, keep in mind, now we're talking $5.5 trillion a day. So wow. I mean, the order of magnitude already just between gold and Forex is about 60 times. So and just between Bitcoin and gold, it's about 2,000 times. So 1,800, 2,000 times. So that's even with the wonderful efforts that are being made, and it's gonna be exciting to see how the Bitcoin derivative products are able to trade. But really, the issue with a derivative product is that you need liquidity. So hopefully, I mean, even with investment banks and things coming in, right? I mean, one of the aspects of Bitcoin that make it so great is the fact that there's a specific set number of units. So, and you can only go down to 1/100 millionth. A Satoshi right. is the smallest, so it's bound, right? It's got a lower and upper, bound. It's bounded. So, but that's also what makes it problematic from, creating liquidity. I mean, gold is also bounded to an extent, but I mean, yes and no, right? I mean, technically there's gold on other planets.
Do you have plans of expanding this to have silver backed, or, copper or other kinds of precious metals? Not saying that copper is necessarily a precious metal, but...
We have, in-depth dev plan. We already do have silver. We definitely have plans for silver. We have plans, yes, for many other metals. I can't get too much into it because then it starts getting into a little bit of
what you can and can't say.
I can.
No worries.
Insinuate. I mean, it's no secret that we definitely have intentions to release other
but no crypto promises
and other metal crypto. We definitely do, and I can definitely say yes to that. In terms of the schedule and kind of what, that's I know that answer, but I can't yet divulge that answer as much as I really want to, but I can't yet. But I promise that once I can. How about this? I promise once I can, I will let you all know.
Oh, definitely. So, we'd love to report about it in the show whenever it happens. Cool. So let me see. Oh yeah, no worries. So I have one final question. So how do you guys make your money in this space? Obviously you can't work for free, otherwise you wouldn't be able to keep it going. What's your profit motive for this Anthem Vault project?
So that's a great question, Robert. So we primarily make money when people buy gold and metal from Anthem Vault. So that's our primary source. We make small bits of revenue off of each transaction, but that's our primary source, especially initially. It's our core offering, and it makes sense if you think about it, because our aim is to have gold and all metals ultimately be more valuable at Anthem Vault than anywhere else in the world. I mean, we have 3,500 accounts. We've had over $2 million, $2.5 million, of metal purchased.
Really?
Vault since,
so you guys hold?
So
yeah. Oh, I was just say just to make sure I heard that correct. So you have $2.5 million worth of gold held in your vaults.
It's more like 1.6 million right now because of the price of gold and silver falling the last, especially not so much in 2014, but in 2013 especially, because we opened our doors. The first order we ever took was a beta launch December of 2012, and then we went live with the system fully. So that was a kind of all systems go on kind of a first version of 2013, April 2013, and then now we launched the Hayek. I would say that's really the next big monument, and that's May 25th. And that's really our big unique selling proposition is really, military grade strength, payable gold, on the open platform of Bitcoin, through Counterparty, of course.
That is great.
XHYK being our counterparty asset / ticker.
XHYK. Everybody remember that one.
It's like Hayek without the vowels.
Right?
Hayek with vowels removed.
And then put the little X in front of it.
An X, yeah, X like that currency symbol.
Right on.
So,
well, this is a great initiative. So, I guess I just developed one more question. So I got one more question for you. So I was under the impression that this was a native cryptocurrency. Oh no, you're fine. Like a native cryptocurrency project. But you've been doing gold before you got involved in cryptocurrencies. Did I understand that correctly?
Oh yes, and we actually have a decade's worth of experience almost. Well, on the team prior to the number one digital gold currency back at the time. So gold money, and so that's something that we carry with us. That being able to operationally have success, taking a company from last to first operationally in the space in a 2-year period in terms of metal held. So we've been building to this point. It really wasn't until we had some clarity from a regulatory standpoint, and really that's in the form of the FinCEN guidance from March of 2013 that, of course, everyone in the industry refers to. And that was really hugely helpful. I mean, I thought it was really actually very advanced and proactive of Treasury to really recognize that this is a peer-to-peer transaction. I mean, it's the same as if we had in our physical coin shop, and we're going to be launching a physical, like traditional old school dropship coin bar company very soon called Hayek Metals. So I can also leave some of that word out there too, and that's going to be open in July. So, but basically, so that's just the same if someone bought a American Eagle or a 1 gram or 10 gram bar or something from us and went outside of the store with, let's say, cash, where it didn't require any other form of clearing. It didn't require basically another party to clear the transaction, right? So that's a peer-to-peer transaction.
Do you want to do like a little plug for all your social media, your website, how people can contact you?
I'd love to. Yeah, definitely check us out. We are very social on Facebook, on Twitter, are the best to YouTube, I guess actually also being a really great one. HayekGold.co is going to be a big one for all the crypto enthusiasts, but to really get it all going, sign up for a free account at AnthemVault.com. So that's really your starting point. So in terms of entry point, and it's the smallest purchase amount is $25 ACH. As mentioned, we are talking with several crypto exchanges about actually listing the Hayek, so none are up yet. So you can hear that was our chief barking officer, Beauregard, in the background agreeing with that. So thank you, Beauregard, for seconding that. So yes, no, it's really very meant to be very parent simple and friend simple and maybe even pet simple. We're not quite there yet, but it's very easy. We're trying to continuously craft and make it easier. So any suggestions, you can also call us. We're very friendly. 855 for a vault during typical. Usually office hours are about 6:30 a.m. through 2:30 to Pacific time. So typical standard hours for a bank, but you can CSR us, you can ask us CSR questions on Twitter, email support. Check out the website anthemvault.com. There's a support box there. So we love communication very much. So please communicate with us. And yeah, and then you can also, if you want to, you can even Twitter me if you'd like. If you want personal questions answered, I'm happy to do that. Anthem Hayek is my Twitter handle, so that's the best place to get me. So I definitely would love to hear from all of you. So, and yeah, thank you.
Yeah,